Hi, this is Brent with Sample Tools by CR2. In this video, we're going to be exploring how to use Max for Live sequences to create unique bass lines. Creative block is something that gets to the best of us, and sequences can be a really good workaround when this issue presents itself. The Max for Live sequencer that we're going to be using is the mono sequencer, and while this is discontinued, it's still available to download and use free for Ableton Suite members. So I've got some kicks here just to create a really simple 4 on the floor pattern, and then I've got this bass shot, and both of these are from the Deep House Volume 3 pack, which you can get on the website. Let's have a listen. So really basic. The bass shot I'm going to be loading into an Ableton Simpler, so let's go into my sample instruments folder and drag in a Simpler. Now I'm going to take the bass shot and load it into the Simpler. And I'm just going to remove this now. Now, if we come back into the Simpler, I'm going to come back over to my Max for Live and load in the mono sequencer. Okay, let's have a listen what it's like as its initialized state. So something quite typical that we'd expect to hear with a sequencer, but we want to be exploring how we can use this to maybe generate ideas that we wouldn't have otherwise done ourselves. And there's a lot of possibilities here for randomization, which is probably where the most unconventional ideas happen. But sometimes these little snippets can be a great way to, like I said, bring some inspiration when you feel like you've got creative block starting to set in. So we can draw on our pitch here, or we can select some of these modes here. So if we select either random or drunk, and we conform it to a scale, let's keep it in C as this is tuned to the key of C. And let's pick the minor or the Aeolian mode. And what we can do is select conform to scale and randomize it. And now it's picked a set of notes for us. And let's have a listen to how that sounds. Already quite interesting. Now, I feel like the pulse is a little bit too fast, so let's try something like eighth notes. I'm going to bring the volume up. Cool. I quite like that. I think it's an interesting rhythm. It could probably be a little bit more interesting, but that'll come with the more that we shape this. So if we continue into the velocity layer here, we can again randomize these parameters. And I feel like this is probably the best way to treat this. Again, once you've maybe got something that you like, you could tweak it to your preference. This is a good starting point, so we can randomize all of these individual layers here. That feels a lot more humanized now and a lot more real. Same thing for the octaves as well. We can change the probability of the randomization. Let's bring that one very low, or 100%. And again, we can randomize this. Okay, now if we come over here and select the initialized state, it'll return it so that we don't have that octave range. So far I like the pitch, I like the velocity, but I want to keep the octave range where it is. Okay, we can also randomize the duration of the notes. So this will shorten the length of them. And this is putting a little bit more groove into the bass line, again, making it more unique. And we can even automate repeats. And we have different algorithms and modes here that we can use to accentuate the repeats. I actually quite like that. I think that sounds really interesting. Okay, I'm going to come back the pitch and I'm going to change this slightly. I feel like I'm not loving the minor scale. So let's come back to the Ionian, which is the major. And let's go on the repeats and just maybe bring down some of these. Okay, now I'm going to come back to the sample, change the filter to an MS2, which has its own drive stage. I'm going to use this just to tweak the sample now that I kind of have a pattern that I can start to shape further. Pull down on the volume of the kick. And something else we could do as well is we could maybe imprint some swing onto this. So if we put the swing on, let's have a listen to how that sounds. So if you want to sort of off the grid feel, the swing is probably where you want to go with that. I'm going to leave it off. And now that you've got this, you could change around with the divisions, so the overall rhythm. And just keep generating random results until you get a set of intervals or a melodic line that you like. And again, you can keep randomizing and changing and randomizing modes, scales, so on, timing. Okay, I feel like I've finally got something I quite like. Now what I could do is, now that I have a actual sequence that is something that I feel like is quite inspiring, I could just change the sample out here if I feel like this is maybe what's not working for the production. So I could come back and drop a new sample into here, and it would just play exactly the same line, which is the beauty of working with the sequencer and something like the MIDI simpler. So this is quite an inspiring way to get around creative block and continuously generate new ideas. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video.